welcome to day 11 of the Samford Edible Garden Trail. In a moment, I'm going to introduce you to one of my neighbours, Martine, and her garden. But before I do that, I really want to tell you the story about how it came about that her garden was as part of our trail. Back in February this year, so Martine's one of my neighbours, and back in February this year, I was down here with the kids. You would have seen from her earlier video, she's got animals, you know, so this is a great place to come with the kids. So we came down here and we were looking at the sheep and the alpacas. And I happened to say to Martine, because at this point we'd already, Christine and our other organisers, we'd been talking about this garden trail idea we'd had for a while, and so it was sort of in the back of my mind all the time. And I happened to say to Martine, you know, have you got a vegetable patch? And she said, oh yeah, I do, come over and have a look. And then she took me to this space, which you're going to see in a moment. She took me over to this fence and said, it's here. And I saw this area, this fenced area that's on a slope like this. It's about a 30-degree slope. And the grass was, I'm not kidding, it was about this high. Like it was at least 1.5 meters high, because we just had all of that rain after the drought. And she said, that's it. And I went, okay, great. And then not much, it wasn't very much longer after that. We were into March and the COVID-19 situation had started, and I was going for my afternoon COVID-19 sanity walks and happened to pass Martine's driveway one day. And she called out to me and said, hi, Suzanne, how are you going? What are you up to? And I said, I'm at home, I'm planting, I'm putting seeds in, I'm putting plants in. How are you going? And Martine said, we've started the vegetable patch. And I went, great. I said, take some photos, record everything that you do, because you're on day 11 of the Samford Edible Garden Trail. And now here we are. So this is a true COVID-19 project. Martine and her family have started from grass like that until what you're about to see. So please stay tuned. We will have some, please put your questions up, and especially if you've seen some of the earlier videos where she talked about the bees on the property and her worm farms, and we'll ask Martine some questions later on. But right now I just really love to show you about what they've done in this veggie patch. So come on in. And to get an idea of the slope, Martine is down at the bottom of the garden. So come on up, Martine.
Right, hello. Welcome to our veggie patch. All right.
So, okay, what I think is interesting here, Martine, is can you run us through how you've basically built this from the grass like that. You've put terraces in, and I think it would be really interesting for people to know the process of what you've done. Yeah. And then we can run through the plants that you've got and the amazing growth that you've achieved in that period of time.
Fantastic. I'll do that. All right. So we started years back. We allocated this area to be our veggie patch. Started with a couple of beds there in that corner. But every time our work was undone by scrub turkeys, wallabies, bandicoots, so we identified we needed to fully fence it. So over the last couple of years we have fenced the area kind of stretch by stretch. So then it was fully fenced, but there was still nothing growing in it. So obviously there was growth of grass.
Yeah.
We've got some sheep. The area is fully fenced, so we put the sheep in there. We've got a herd of about 20 animals, and they ate it down within 3 days. They were telling me they were hungry again, so we had to move them on. So after 3 days, we had grass stumps about this high, and we started in that corner where we kind of weeded everything. So let's kind of walk over there. We'll have a bit of a look. We kind of weeded everything out. We put retaining walls in, because obviously we're on the slope. We dug out straight areas for the path. We pegged all the retaining walls in. Then I had a look at the soil. I'm definitely not an expert, but just based on what looks good and feels good, we put some organic material in. I've got some supplements for minerals, and then we started to seed and see how it went. what I have realized is that water is so crucial. So as you can see here, there is a little water station, and we water currently every day. Kind of around 5 o'clock, the sprinkler goes on, and it needs to move around to all 5 watering stations. So yeah, it was a lot of hard work because we had to dig the path. We kind of put some wood chips on it. Over time that will deteriorate, and that will add again organic material to the garden.
Martine,
yeah.
what was the soil like before you started? Was it any good here?
No, not particularly.
Okay.
So we had we've got clay underneath with a layer of topsoil. This area was quite alright because we had tried the veggie patch here before, so we had much better soil here than on the other side of the veggie patch. So here we could get started straight away. I have to say, I'm so surprised. I've got Wurgle greens in here, and I have not seeded them this season. So they have come from previous years.
Wow.
Those seeds were dormant. We put this water on it, and they just shoot up.
Wow.
Obviously I'm not much of weeding, but if I weed, I just I'll pull it out and I drop it straight away. That's the only weed I don't do this with is the nutgrass.
Okay, you get rid of that. Yeah. What's this one growing up?
That's the Sunroom Spinach.
Oh, okay.
That is a very good plant as well to grow in warmer climates, and I think that one will do all right as well in summertime as long as I water it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the way you've made these, and you've used you hammered them in a lot, didn't you?
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
no way,
Yes. Yeah. This was a little project for the kids.
Okay.
To make the tripods, as we call them.
Yeah.
They are not very functional. Just with the 3 sticks, I've noticed that we have to kind of put a bit of mesh on it like this.
Okay.
Because otherwise the plants don't grow up. This plant was already very high when I put it in, so I just wrapped it up, but they don't tend to grow by themselves up on the tripods.
Okay.
So yeah, here, if you kind of look behind you, here we get some cucumbers, and we put a bit of, this is just a piece of dog fence, whatever I can find laying around. These are, I think, old cages, for animal cages that come apart. So yeah, these are our cucumbers. They're doing fine. So yeah, it is. So what we considered as well when we were designing or building the veggie patch is we don't get any younger, and therefore we just need to make sure that all our paths are level. We consider that path in the middle our highway, and we can come in with a wheelbarrow here.
Okay.
So that's.
So you dug the path.
Yeah.
So the path is flat, but then you've retained with, what have you used?
Whatever we have laying around. Okay. So a lot of them are logs. I am also doing a lot of revegetation on our property. So I'm not cutting down any healthy live native trees. So these are all pest trees or logs that we had laying about.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes I even have kind of banana logs, and I know they're not very sustainable because they probably need to be replaced within a couple of weeks or months. We had some bamboo here. That's the paper bark. That tree died during the drought. So yeah, each log has a story too.
So did you bring any compost? I kind of missed the beginning. What did you add anything? I know you said you added nutrients to the soil, but otherwise, what did you put on these garden beds? Or was you've just planted into what was there before?
Yes, yeah. We put a lot of worm juice in there.
Okay.
And worm castings. And then, some soil supplements with minerals. And that was about it. We have covered it with a bit of hay.
Okay.
So this was kind of not moldy hay. Yeah, it's getting moldy anyway. So yeah, we covered it up because I was a bit worried that the sun was going to dry out. The soil was going to dry out during the day. So that's why I want to have it covered and just keep that moisture in the soil.
Mm.
Yes.
It's a good use of your worm castings.
Absolutely.
We saw your earlier video, and that
Yeah.
was one of the questions that we've had. Is actually what do you use your castings for?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you transplant your seedlings, or you've just sprinkle it on the beds?
Yes, when I do planting, I get compost, and I can't, because the compost at the moment is quite dry, and I mix it with worm castings and worm juice
Okay.
to just get those microbes in the soil.
Okay.
Yeah, and then plant them. Yes.
Great. Can we
Yeah.
have a little look what you've got in some of these
That's
beds?
fantastic. Yes, I kind of very enthusiastically decided to seed tomatoes, and then they came up by themselves too. So I have plenty tomato plants in here now. So we've got zucchinis in here. They are flowering prolifically, but I still have to see the first zucchini, but I'm very excited about that. I got a hold of some asparagus seeds too, and I just put them in the ground, and I'm so excited to have to see this. Is here, look at this. I've got asparagus plants coming up, and not only this, I have them intermingled.
Yeah, I
with-
can see some there.
Yeah, and
there's
there's here
Wow, from
and
seed.
here. So yeah, I put
Fantastic.
your little seeds in a little hole and didn't think much about it. So it took quite a long time for them to germinate,
Yeah.
but they came. So yeah, very excited about that, because these plants can live for 20 years.
Yeah.
And they just keep on giving.
Yeah. And I can see a little friend up here. I'm going to ask you here, this one here, can I move past?
Yes.
So there's two names for this one. This is, because I'm from Sydney, we called it Farmers Friends here. And up here in
right.
Queensland, it's Cobbler's Pests.
Yes.
So it's a weed. But, I mean, you would probably know this, that actually they're highly nutritious.
Exactly.
And so when we have them in our garden, we pick the small leaves. Do you do this? And I sort of make a point, and anyway, eat them as I go along.
All right.
Yeah.
I have
Do you
tried.
pull them out? This is my question I was going to ask. You
Yeah,
pull them out or you leave
I
them?
will pull them out, because I don't want them to
To
reseed.
keep reseeding, yeah.
But yes, we eat them. I have put them in salad. I can't say it was really appreciated, and as long as I didn't mention the were cobbler's peg, it was all right. I have not used them in salad for a while, but we have done that. A weed that I like better is the swine weed. That is
Okay.
really nice for salads.
Oh,
It tastes like the mustard greens.
wow.
Talking about mustard greens, I've got some here too. They came up from seed too, and I did have them here years ago. So here, these are the mustard greens. They're absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
They're quite spicy. They're very nice to add to salads.
Mm. Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's got the aftertaste of the spice. You don't get it straight away.
Martine, I've got a question here for you
Yeah.
about your asparagus. How long did it take to germinate?
Oh, it's at least 6 weeks. And I'm not sure whether that is because that's always like this, or this is just the right temperature for them to just germinate.
I've never had luck from seed.
there's usually more questions than answers. But the most important thing is that they came up,
Yes.
so I'm very excited about that. I have to say, I had one asparagus plant. It was living there, and it survived the drought, it survived negligence for the last couple of years, and it still popped up again recently. So it looks like it is the time for asparagus plants to now start growing, and we moved it from there to kind of further in the bed. And that one is now growing too, so it seems to be the right time.
The right time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, some sugar peas here. I need to tie these up. There we have a better system. We put some rebar in there some time ago, a couple of weeks ago, and that's growing up so that it can support the tomatoes and the sugar peas. Oh, this is also a bit of an experiment. So I chuck compost, ends up in the garden, and these are 2 citrus trees that grew from seed. Obviously they've been growing for a while. Then the sheep came in here and they ate all the leaves off. It is coming back. They're not that happy yet. but I'm quite keen to have them here in the veggie patch.
Martine, somebody's asked what aspect is your slope out of curiosity. That's Megan.
What aspect is it? Was this north facing?
Yeah, this is north facing, yes. So obviously now we're going into the colder weather, and that all looks good. So we still need to carry this veggie patch through summer and see how it works then, whether we just need to abandon it for a couple of months and then come back again in March, or we can carry through. I have been collecting trampolines or structures of trampolines, so my plan is to put all bed sheets on it or shade cloth and then put them around in the garden. Obviously that works fine as long as there are no high winds, because if there's high winds the trampoline structures can do more damage than good.
Yes.
So yeah, I know that's going to be a problem. One of the things that we're also going to do to improve is currently we have this just one water hose from the bore to a sprinkler, and every evening the sprinkler moves around to 5 stations in the garden to get full coverage. But we've bought some sprinkler heads that are going to be mounted on the fence posts, and we're going to hook them all up, and we need to have a look what the capacity of the bore is, whether we can have them all on at the same time or 2 at the same time. And the plan is to put them on a timer, so it just becomes a bit more less labor intense.
Yeah. So what keeps coming back to me is that this garden's come about in such a short period of time. So you've actually put the garden together. You've built the retaining walls, but then you've planted, and already you've got all these crops. So they're really happy here. And I mean, these are fast crops. These here, aren't they? This is bok choy. This is I mean, when they're happy, they're fast.
I got seedlings. I bought seedlings, and then they only take about 6 weeks to come to full size.
But see, when you get the right crops in, it's fast. You can have something to eat really quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were still in lockdown.
Turnover. Yes.
And we were desperate. You could be
lettuce
and bok choy.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very pleased with these coarse lettuces.
They look beautiful.
Yeah. Shall we have a look at this area of the garden? Yeah. Here I have identified that the soil is not that great. So here I've planted some green manure. So I just bought the wild bird seed mix at the local store. And it just looks like chicken grains, but then it's not broken, they're whole seeds. And just spread it out here, and this germinated within 3 or 4 days. I have to say I tried to plant by the moon. So we're now in a high growth period again, so that need to be seeded as well very soon. I put some hay on there, but that blew away this weekend. Just again to retain the moisture in the soil.
Yes. Can I make a comment about that bird seed just before you go on? Because I've used the same as a green manure crop, and it's fantastic. It's we can stock it. It's at our local produce, and there's a cheaper one, and that's the one that it is. It's about $20 for this big bag, and it hasn't been heat treated, and that's why you can grow from it. So just be mindful if you go and try to buy a wild bird seed. If you buy a more expensive one, it's probably been heat treated and you won't be able to grow from it.
Oh, so you need to go with the cheapest?
Yeah, you've got to go with the cheapest. Yeah, because even when I bought it the first time, they said, oh, it may not germinate, and they explained it, and I said, no, Teddy Cato told me to come and get it. I know that this is going to work, and so that's the local knowledge. It's kind of shared around as a really cheap way to get some green manure going. But I just thought other people may not realise that if you go and buy just birdseed, it won't always germinate.
Oh, right. That's fantastic. Yeah. No, that's good that I always buy the cheapest.
Yeah, that's right.
Martine, you've got a couple of questions here from Ainsley and Carmen about your pests. So are you having any issues with pests and the lovely wildlife they can hear around?
Yeah. You see those birds up there?
Yeah.
You've seen the rainbow lorikeets? Oh, they're in your compost, Martine.
Yes, they like to have a good look around, and probably a feed as well, because otherwise they would not be that attracted by it.
Wow, we'll go and look at your compost later, but they found a way in.
Yes. I'm aware of it. I also have some plastic bins, and I'm actually filling those up at the moment, just for that very same reason, and for another reason as well. They're easier to keep the heat in at the moment because it's cooler, and composting works best if you get the heat in your compost. Yeah. So yes. So that's why we put the fence up the first place, is keep the bigger animals out. I've seen one strub turkey in here, and I was not very happy with it. That's also a reason why we left that tree in. We have our cotton bush there. I put as many high structures in as I can because I'm hoping that prevents the turkey from coming in, so they are worried that they can't land or they can't see. I don't know. I try to think turkey. I'm not sure if I'm doing this well, but that's kind of my philosophy at the moment. Putting structures in that makes it difficult for them to land.
Yes.
But yeah, they seem to have a preference for sweet potatoes. I put some sweet potatoes in one part of the garden, and I just noticed this morning they have already been dug up.
Yeah.
So yes.
But none of these have got pests. None of your plants look. I don't know how much of that gets picked up through the video, but they are so healthy looking that it's absolutely vibrant.
Yes. So I can't share any pest stories with you.
Well,
yeah. So if the bigger animals, I did have some in here in my those seeds. I had some pigeons in there,
okay.
or some doves. So they were eating the seeds. Yeah, I think we put so many out that you can probably see that there's some kind of open areas. Obviously, this one all germinated, and this one is a bit patchy. Yeah.
Yes.
I do notice already that this part of the veggie patch doesn't have that prolific growth as we have on this side. So I'll work a bit more on that. So if we talk about the green manure, so yeah, I think I'll give this a couple more weeks, and I'm gonna dig it in to just get the benefits from the green manure out of it. I do know that these ones are sunflowers. So I would like to get them to full height and have these beautiful sunflowers in the garden, but I think at this stage they have to serve the purpose as a green manure.
Okay.
So I might seed some in the borders, for that matter. Yeah, and in the borders I've now set up as more permanent plants. So I'm not sure if you can see that that well. Sorry, Suzanne, I'll just come sneak here. So here, these cuttings I put in, those reddish ones are hibiscus plants or hibiscus bushes, and the leaves are edible.
Yeah, cranberry hibiscus.
Yes, yeah. And they have a bit of a sour taste to it. They are also very nice with salads, and they decorate the salads as well. So it looks absolutely fantastic. And the kids love them. They say they taste like lollies. And they're much better than lollies too.
And better than cobbler's pegs then.
Yeah. They're a bit bitter. I mean, if they're really fresh, then they're nice, but they get bitter really
What
quickly.
I was going to say is that my little system is when I see the cobbler's pegs or the farmer's friends in the garden, we pull them out as well because we don't want them to take over. We pull them out, but generally wherever I see a big one growing, there'll be a small one growing.
Oh,
and then it's the small one that I just take a few leaves and I never put them in, I just eat them at the time. And as I go through the garden, because I've heard they're one of the most nutritious plants that you can get. So I try to have a little bit, and I actually quite like the taste of the fresh young ones. Yeah. But that's the trick. Look for the small ones next to the big one.
Yes.
Pull out the big one, eat the small one.
That's a good trick.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Someone's just had a bird fly into them on the veranda because they heard your birds through the through the video. Yes.
Hey, it's interactive.
Yeah. It's only for people.
Martine, I had a question from someone who's joined your beds. Are they no-dig beds? Have you laid them up at all? How have you?
No, I have. So by digging out the path, we kind of chucked then the soil up on the higher beds. So that gave us usually enough soil. Then I had a look at the quality of the soil, and especially these beds were very low on organic material. So there are advantages and disadvantages of having shrub turkeys around, but the advantage definitely is that they build nests. So we have an old abandoned turkey nest on our land, and we kind of take some organic material off that in half wheelbarrow loads and add that to the garden to add some more organic material to the soil.
Oh, wow.
And that's we can have a look at this at the soil here. So here we put some organic material in it, and I'm really happy with it. Because this soil was absolutely useless. So this is what it looks like now. So obviously there's no worms in it yet, but I'm happy with the structure.
Yes.
We could make our way up to the compost bins actually, because they're always a good thing to look at.
So we have set up a system of 3 bays. Sorry guys. So this is bay number 1, where the fresh compost goes in. I try to layer it with a brown and a green layer. So we have some guinea pigs as well, so that all the bottom kind of manure of the poo of the guinea pigs goes in here with newspaper. They sit on hay and sometimes some wood chips. So that goes in there. All our food scraps from the house go in here. I've got a place where I pick up some egg cartons. They go in here. But yeah, at the moment what I'm struggling with, of course, is this time of the year, is just keeping it moist and keeping the temperatures up. So normally they say if you compost 1 cubic meter, creates that nice heat that composts all the organic material. And obviously I don't have 1 cubic meter in these areas. It shrinks quite considerably too. So yeah, I'm struggling at the moment to keep the heat in. So this is bay 2. So what we do, this is kind of, it's about half full or full. Then we tip it over in there. Then we let it sit in there, and then it goes over to the next one. And we can open that up and see. I haven't had a look at it for a while. So we get some Hessian sacks in here just to, yeah, it is quite dry, and it's not really composted that well. Dig a bit. Oh no, we got
Some life in there.
yeah, there is life in it, but it's not ready yet. It just needs to go a bit longer. But yeah, usually I'm not too picky. I take it quite early, and then all the bigger pieces, they just go back in bay 1 again, and they go through the whole process again. So this is what I use when I do planting in other areas, and I use it in the veggie patch as well.
How long, have you got any idea how long you would leave it? From the first one to the second and the third, or you just...
No, it is very much dependent on the seasons, because in summer it goes so much quicker.
Yeah.
It is more like trying to estimate where we sit. This has been probably over summer. This has been in there for 4 or 5 months. So as you can see, my system is not that quick. But I've got a couple of other compost bins. So we're always filling up, we're always making compost.
Yeah.
And I'm always collecting organic material to put in the compost bins. But yeah, it sits here probably months,
Yeah.
up to half a year. Yeah.
Are there any other questions in Chrissy? All right. I've got a few questions.
All right.
Actually, my questions are a little bit about some of your other videos. So we saw this amazing honey, the honeybee system that you've got. How often do you normally harvest that? I know you said that it's not a good time. Like this year's been terrible for honey.
Absolutely, yes.
Because
of the drought.
Terrible for bees, I should say, and for honey. So, but normally when it's up and running, how often do you get honey from that?
So when the gum trees flower, they have a very high honey flow. It's every 2 weeks. So I've got, just to explain, 9 hives, and I'm not going in and emptying one. I usually take a frame, kind of a couple of frames from each hive. So we on good times, so not this year, previous years, we would harvest 60 kilograms every 2 to 3 weeks, and that is the peak. But then in winter time, this is the time where you leave the bees alone and we do maintenance. So that means that I'll buy new boxes, we paint them up, we build the bottoms and the tops, we build the frames, put the frames together. So this is where you have your maintenance. So it's very seasonal. Then it starts again in September, where you can get a bit of honey. October increases again, November, then the gum trees flower. Normally they flower, or over the last couple of years they flowered in January, and now they're flowering now.
Yeah.
So nature is completely off.
Yeah, the weather we had
yeah.
last year, for those
But
who aren't in Australia, we know we have some people from outside the area, and we suffered this very long drought. We had about 5 months here with no rain at all. And then back in, it started, was sort of late January, early February. We then suddenly got this huge amount of rainfall for about 6 weeks, 2 months, and so everything's out of whack.
Absolutely, yes. And we are living here in an area with a lot of dry rainforest trees, so they were even more heavily affected by the drought. I think about 40% of the trees didn't even have leaves, so they were not even thinking about flowering. Then we got all that rain that made them all kind of revive, but then they got that much rain that they started to put all that energy in growth rather than in flowering. So although we had rain, there was still not a lot of feed around for the bees.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am very happy that the gums are flowering currently, which means that the bees can collect enough nectar to make honey with for themselves to survive winter. And I don't have to feed them because sugar water is never as good as the real stuff.
And so when it is in that production and you've got 60 kilograms coming in, when it's at the peak time, what do you do with the honey?
I have my lunchroom is filled with buckets of honey.
I was going to say, do your neighbours get some?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I haven't been here when it's been in peak production before. So.
I have been selling kind of about 20 jars every 2 weeks at the mill and farm market. Okay. And then I sell at work, and my husband sells at work.
Yeah,
and of course, the school teachers get a jar of honey at the end of the school year.
Fantastic. Well, that makes you one of our local growers.
Absolutely.
Great.
But
so you're feeding your family and you're feeding our community.
Yeah. Now normally the bees look after me, but this year I had to look after the bees.
If you weren't giving them that sugar solution, have you actually?
No, I haven't done it.
Haven't done it.
I do keep checking, and they still have enough honey to.
Oh, that's good. I know some other people have been on the sugar solution to keep them alive. Yeah. Yes.
Martine, I've got a question here from Vanessa. She's wondering if you're doing any companion planting in the veggie gardens.
No, not at this stage. Yeah. No. That is kind of a bit more of an advanced course that I have not come to. I have put some marigolds in because I know they're a good companion plant, but I have put them in random spots.
So, I already asked you my worm farm question because I was going to ask about what you're doing with all your castings, but we sort of got the answer that it seems like it goes into the veggie patch.
Yes.
That's the main spot. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you planting from seed or just seedlings?
No, I've got, I can get a hand on seedlings, so I've been doing that. And obviously if I get seeds, I'm not picky. I put the asparagus seeds in and they came up. I grew some tomatoes from seed, and of course the green manure. So I don't have a preference. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, actually, I've just remembered. I knew there was a question there, and I couldn't grab it, but now I've got it. I will ask that question, and we'll, and then we might sort of wrap it up, unless anybody else has another question. So it was about spacing. Like, how have you thought through the size of the beds here and the paths? Was there a plan with that? Because it looks pretty consistent.
Yes. Yeah. I'll just go to a bed, and I'll show the ideal size. And I actually copied that from Mill and Farm. It's just these are the ideal size beds. That when I stand at the lower side, because I don't want to bend over too much, I can just comfortably reach the other side, so I can do all the work from here. And the path we kept to a minimal width.
Okay.
So we can just go on here with a wheelbarrow. But I don't want to waste too much space on path. So yeah, because it is a slope, and it doesn't only slope like that, it also is a bit of a bowl. The beds are sometimes a bit wider and sometimes a bit narrower, but that is our kind of general philosophy.
Okay, so as long as you could reach it, that's what you've done.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and that I don't have to step in the beds, because it's better to not step
Yes.
on your soil.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just come down here. I will say, if there are no more questions, find a spot to stand. I will say thank you very much, Martine. For me, this garden is particularly inspirational because I saw it back when it was still in a dream state, and I really admired your optimism at the time, because all I saw was this grass this high.
Yes.
And so I would love to just sort of emphasise, I suppose, that this has been built really quickly, and by clever selection of your plants, you're actually producing food very, very quickly.
Already, yes.
And this has come from you and the work of yourself and your family, and so with the intent over that COVID-19 time,
Yes.
you've actually produced something really amazing, which will now continue on for the years to come. So I congratulate you, and I thank you for inspiring the rest of us, and knowing that you did such good things during isolation.
Yes.
It's really wonderful. So thank you. If you have any questions for Martine throughout the day about from this video, or if you go back and look at her other ones, if you go to the Facebook page, look under posts. It's much easier to find them if you look under posts, and you'll see her videos on the bees and also the worm farms. Any questions, just write them up, and Martine will be able to come back and answer them throughout the day. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow for the next day of our garden trail, our edible garden trail.
Fantastic.
Bye.
Thanks.